The world is shaken with the big development that's coming in from Iran. President of Iran, Ebrahim Raisi, along with the foreign minister of Iran, both have been killed in a plane, in a chopper crash. And this could have major ramifications, not just within Iran when it comes to succession, but also in the region when it comes to Israel and global impact as well. To speak a little more on what happens from here on, I'm being joined by an Iran specialist from the University of Haifa, Dr. Thamar Gindin, who joins us from Tel Aviv. Thank you so much, Dr. Thamar Gindin, for joining us here. Let's begin with the news development itself. How significant could this news development be in terms of what is now going to happen within Iran, given that you're a specialist on Iran?
As a matter of fact, I don't think it will have that much of an effect. We should keep in mind that in Iran, the president is not the head of state, as in the United States. He's the head of the executive branch of the executive power, the head of the government. And unlike governments in other countries, for example, in Israel, the government also states policy and executes it. In the Islamic Republic, the head of the executive branch receives policy, receives orders, and carries them out. He's an executive. So, right. As a matter of fact, the thing that the person who was killed, Ebrahim Raisi, was he did have power. He did sit in very important committees. He did have some effect on Iran, for example. Since he became president, executions more than doubled, death sentences. So he did have some impact, but as for the regular operation of the state, Khamenei also said it yesterday in a meeting with families of the IRGC, before it was known whether Raisi survived or not, when people still thought there might be a chance that nothing happened. He said that whatever happened, the regular operation of the state will not be hindered. And he's right, because today we already heard that there's already an acting president for the next 50 days until the next elections. The next president, who will be elected in about 50 days, will be elected for a 4-year term. That is, he won't complete Raisi's term, but it will be a fresh 4-year term. And also the foreign minister was replaced by his first deputy. So actually, I don't expect any problems in the state. They have very good anti-shock systems.
Well, that's absolutely correct when it comes to transition of power in terms of government and governance. But Dr. Gindin, there has been a lot of conversation with regards to succession itself, not of the presidency certainly, but of the supreme leader, that after Khamenei, who is going to come next? And in that, the two names that really always propped up were Ebrahim Raisi and Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the supreme leader. Will that will that equation change, and how is that really going to play out within Tehran?
Right. The significance of this accident is actually more about succession of the supreme leader when the supreme leader passes away. And the Mojtaba Khamenei's son, Ali Khamenei's son, was his favorite candidate. And Raisi was actually he didn't run for presidency, he was run for presidency by powers that wanted him because he's more obedient and he was a little bit stupid, at least according to social media and some videos of his. And they wanted him to be the supreme leader, maybe because they thought he would be easier to be influenced. But right now, it's really only Mojtaba Khamenei who stayed as the option. I don't know if there will be another option that will be brought up, or if just Mojtaba Khamenei will be declared as his father's heir, also as supreme leader, which actually just only makes it a more of a dictatorship, because we don't know what skills exactly he has for running a country.
Right, Dr. Gindin, now this is to do with what is going to happen within Iran, but Ibrahim Raisi is also the foreign minister, had a very important roles to play when it comes to foreign policy, the nuclear program, and in foreign policy itself, the recent conflict between Israel and Hamas, where Iran does play a very key role. Do you see any impact on that with the deaths of these two leaders?
Again, I'm not sure if there will be any effect because they did execute policy that was that was dictated from above. It's actually two people who sit in a lot of committees who now have to be replaced. But I think the system there is stable enough to survive this shock. And may I remind you that people much more important and much more influential than Raisi have found their death in various ways. For example, Qasem Soleimani, who was assassinated, who was killed by the United States about 4 years ago, he had much more influence on Iranian and Islamic Republic policy, security, politics, and he too was replaced. People thought he could not be replaced. So I think the only thing that might be significant is if the people, with all their rejoicing in the streets now, will really take to the streets and try to use this vacuum of power, vacuum of executive power to try to take Iran for the Iranian people again.
I was just going to come to that, Dr. Gindin. The fact that Ibrahim Raisi was a polarizing figure, that there were extreme reactions to anything that he did, and there has been extreme reaction to his death as well. On the one hand, the hardline faction, the certain quarters within Iran, absolutely in shock. But there are certain quarters within Iran who are not shocked as much as jubilant with the news. How do you see this really pan out in the streets of Tehran? We've seen Tehran come out of an internal civil war, so to say, when it comes to a revolution, which was quelled. But do you see that uprising again because of the so-called executive vacuum?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but this is the only scenario that I can see. Again, I'm not a prophet. I'm just an analyst. I know what I read, and I know what was in the past. The only chance I see that this will have any effect is if the people go out to the streets. I'm not sure it will happen. Yesterday, before the bodies were found, before the helicopter was found, there were a lot of rumors that said that the body was already found, but the government is not letting the media know about it because they first want to prepare security forces to quell the resistance in the street or the happiness in the street if and when the body is found. So this could also be something that happened when these uprisings happen and when they succeed as much as they did in 2022, 2023, we are very surprised. We can never predict why the next uprising will start and how successful it will be.
Right. And finally, before I let you go, there has been a lot of conversation, speculation. We know that the copter crashed because of inclement weather, but investigations are still underway. They'll have to find out exactly what happened. There were two other helicopters in his security detail. A lot of questioning on what really transpired. Should there be any suspicion in the realm of outside interference, how could that really impact Israel?
Actually, Zarif, the former minister of foreign affairs, said that America, the U.S., is to blame for this copter crash because of the sanctions, because Donald Trump returned the sanctions on Iran, and they can't get replacement parts for their airplanes and helicopters. So the reason it was bad weather and the helicopter itself was not well maintained because they don't have enough parts. The accusations of Israel were not as immediate and not as many as I see in other incidents, because people really think it's probably the weather. Technical problems could also be human error. One of the jokes was that Raisi told the pilot, "Okay, you can't drive like this. Let me drive," because he did it to his road driver once. But it's probably.
But you're ruling out outside
and
interference completely.
I can't rule out anything completely because I don't sit in any decision maker tank, but it doesn't seem like outside interference. It seems like really weather
An accident.
and technical conditions. It really seems like an accident waiting to happen.
Right. Dr. Thamar Gindin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.